guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jess and this is another reading wrap up. So here on my channel, I like to do wrap-ups based on the number of books rather than do one like every month or so because my reading fluctuates so much. So I typically do one every 5 books, and we have hit the 5 book mark since our last one. So it is time for a wrap-up, and without further ado, I will go ahead and get into it because I am pretty excited to talk about some of these. A couple of them were kind of mediocre, but we did have at least one 5-star in there. So without further ado, I will quit blabbering on and we can get into the books. So the first book that I'm going to talk about today is going to start us off with a bang. We're going to start very strong for this video. Probably the strongest we're actually going to get the entire video. I think this is my only 5-star this video, but this is a book that I was highly anticipating. A lot of booktubers that I watch, a lot of my friends that have read it, that have the same similar taste as me, have obsessed over this book. They love it so much. It totally goes more into the sci-fi side of things than I typically like to do. I like to stay more fantasy, but I did thoroughly enjoy this book. It's why I got 5 stars, and that is going to be Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Okay, so this is the start to the Red Rising trilogy, and we follow a man named Darrow. This book takes place in a society where you are kind of categorized based on colors. So we have the reds, which are all the way down at the bottom, and then we go all the way up to the golds, who are at the very top, kind of untouchable, the rulers, everything like that. And the reds have been sent to Mars to go down underground and live in these tunnels and to mine for this type of mineral that is going to be used to terraform the planet and make it safe for the rest of the colors to flee Earth and come to live on, because Earth is becoming uninhabitable, and currently Mars is uninhabitable, and the only way that it's going to get fixed is by getting it terraformed. And so the Reds, specifically Darrow, his family, and their colony have been on Mars for hundreds of years trying to get enough of this mineral so that it can be terraformed completely and everybody can come live on Mars happily. Well, we get thrust into this world, and Darrow is living his life mining for this mineral with his lovely wife, and things start to happen, and eventually his wife gets killed as a martyr. And she does this in order to spur Darrow into action, because right after this happens, he learns that the surface of Mars is terraformed already, and it has been for hundreds and hundreds of years, and the Reds are just kept underground in slavery without knowing that any of this is going on. And all the other colors are like living their happy lives on the surface, while the Reds are dying and living terribly. So of course he's super angry, and he decides that he is going to take his revenge for not only for his wife but also for all of the Reds in the entire society he's grown up in. And so in order to do this, he infiltrates the society above ground as a gold. So he transforms himself into a gold and then enters into their school and their competitions to try to make his way up the ladder so that he can bring the whole society crashing down on their heads. So this book was so good, okay? The politics, the world building, the scenery, it was beautifully written. It was so good. I felt like I was in it the entire time. It was awesome. I loved all the little characters in here. I liked Severo. Oh my gosh, Severo was so adorable. Oh geez, the characters are great. You fall in love with every single one of them. The setting's great. The story is amazing. I loved how like in his head we were the entire time, and it really shows you like his perspective from the beginning, where the Golds are just these terrible people, and then when he actually becomes one of them and he starts like making friends with some of them, you see him start to shift his perspective as like maybe not all of them are so bad. And I'm really excited to see like in the rest of this trilogy where that goes, because right now his one sole mission is to just destroy everything that is not a Red, and I feel like that's gonna change, if not cause some issues coming up, and I am here for those issues. I'm ready for them. I'm so excited. But yeah, this was an amazing start to a sci-fi trilogy. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. If you're a fan of sci-fi at all, read this book. Honestly, if you're not that big of a fan of sci-fi and you're a fan of fantasy, this book is pretty good. It's got a really, really good storyline. It'll keep you hanging. And the other part of this is that I typically don't like sci-fi because I don't like all of the like space and ship and planet like language and stuff. I can't keep up with it very well, but this one doesn't have a lot of that. So I found that it was very easy to keep up with, and I actually really enjoyed it. So yeah, if you are looking for a new sci-fi series to start and you have not started this one already, start it. I'm pretty sure most of you, if not all of you, have heard of this series. It is not a hidden gem. It is everywhere for good reason. Go read this book. For book number 2, we are throwing it back to my middle school reading years, I think, is when I first read this book, and I have recently picked it up again. I found it in a thrift shop, and I thought I wanted to reread it because I hadn't finished the series initially when I read it in middle school, but I remembered really liking it, and so I decided I would pick it up. But yeah, it is going to be Uglies by Scott Westerfield. So this is another start to a series. For some reason, this is the vlog of starting series. But this is a start to a series that is a futuristic dystopian novel. So it takes place after the fall of the society we live in now. And basically, you are kept in, they have these like mega cities, and it starts like you're a kid, and then when you're a teenager, you go off to live in this dorm and you're called an ugly. And then once you turn 16, you go and have plastic surgery to like proportion your face correctly and make you what society says is a pretty. And then you get to go live in the pretty cities. And then eventually, you get older and you can go have your kids and the whole cycle starts all over again. Well, we follow Tally, and Tally has been dreaming of her 16th birthday forever, okay? Her best friend is a couple months older than her, and so he's recently left to go to the pretty town, and so she can't see him anymore, and she's just waiting and counting down the days until she gets to have the operation and go get to party her life away as a pretty with everybody else. But shortly before her day comes, she meets a new friend named Shay, and Shay is a little bit less excited about her operation. She does not want to go through with it. She has met this man named David, and she keeps telling these wild tales about this place called the Smoke, which is supposed to be supposedly a village of people who have escaped these cities and are living out in the wilderness, hiding from everybody. And Shay does not want to go through with operation. She thinks it's wrong and she wants to run away. She wants Tally to go with her. Tally says no. So Shay leaves, and Tally doesn't think much of it, but on the day her operation is supposed to happen, she gets picked up by this group called the Specials, who are kind of like the policemen / military of this world, and they pick her up and they tell her that she is not allowed to have the operation unless she helps them find Shay and the Smoke and apprehend everybody who lives there. So Tally goes on a journey to try to double cross her new best friend in order to make herself pretty. And yeah, that's where we go. We go there and we follow it through this entire very large chunky book. It wasn't bad. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't enjoy it as much as I did in middle school. I will tell you that. My reading tastes have definitely changed. I could see why middle school me liked it. It's an interesting story. At that point, I had not read any other dystopian stories, so this was all I had to go on, and it was a fun, like, new thing, new plot, whatever. Don't get me wrong. It's a great story. I love this story. I love the idea of this story. I always have. I don't vibe with the writing anymore. The writing is very, very young. It's very basic. It doesn't have a lot of like secondary levels in it that make you think. But yeah, it's definitely I don't know if this is middle grade, but it reads like a middle grade to me. But yeah, it's a great series. It's a great series for younger audiences. It's a great idea. I still love Scott Westerfield. I love some of his other books. Like one of his adult novels called Afterworld is one of my favorite books ever. I love his writing, but this is just too young for me now. But for the nostalgia side of it, I did love it. I loved being back in this world. I loved hearing these voices again, seeing the like reading about them riding the hoverboards and finding a roller coaster for the first time and not knowing what it is and seeing all of this stuff. It was so cool. But I just didn't enjoy it as much as I hoped that I would. And so this one is sadly getting a 3 out of 5 stars for me. Okay, so for book number 3, this is one that I really hadn't heard anything about. It was just on my shelf and I figured I'd pick it up. And that is going to be Not If I See You First by Eric Lindstrom. So this book was actually pretty cool. I really liked it. It is a middle grade, and we follow a girl named Parker. And Parker is completely blind. She got in an accident with her mom, a car accident, a couple years before this book takes place, and she has gone completely blind. And then we follow her as she's in high school. Her dad has recently passed away. He accidentally committed suicide. And so now she is living with her aunt and uncle and her cousins who have moved to her house to be with her and take care of her. And she is trying to fight the battles of a normal teenager in high school while also dealing with the grief of her dad. And then we also get some drama with her old best friend, who is recently coming back into her life. So she's dealing with that. She's dealing with just learning how to be a good friend to her friends that she still has and already has, like her close group of friends as they navigate high school. She's trying to join the track team. She's trying to try out new things and just be a kid. And it's pretty great. Nothing specifically like story driven happens in this. It's mainly character focused and just the struggles of being a middle schooler or the struggles of being a high schooler while also adding on all these extra things. So it's very emotional. It made me cry several times actually. But it's such a good book. It portrays everything so well. It really makes you think about it, and it's great. I love the friendships in here. I love the relationships in here. It had so many different like lessons and morals and things, and it was just such a sweet read, honestly. It's not that long. Like I said, it's a middle grade, so it's super easy. But I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It hit me very, very hard. Particularly like her, the way she was treating her friends, and I don't know, it was just beautiful. I will definitely say, trigger warnings for things like suicide, parental loss, things like that. It's a rough book, it's a hard book, but it's a good book. But I recommend this one if you are into any type of realistic fiction, middle grades in general. It's a good book. But yeah, 4 out of 5 stars on this one. So the 4th book for this wrap up is going to jump us back into the fantasy realm, and that is going to be The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. So this book was also super, super cute. It follows a young boy named Prosper, and Prosper is a Redding who are the wealthiest, most important family in Red Hood. And basically, the Reddings founded this town. They still run this town with his grandmother being at the center of it all. And she is not a nice lady, and Prosper is definitely not the favorite grandchild. He is the only one in his family that has been labeled unexceptional, and kind of is just trying to do his own thing and make it through the time that he has to be there up until he can leave. Well, we open up in this town on Founders Day, and Founders Day is the day when the whole town gathers to celebrate the founding of Red Hood by Prosper's great-great-great-grandfather or some mess somewhere up in the line. And yeah, it's normal Founders Day up until the point when him and his twin sister get brought into the basement of their family's mansion, and his grandma tries to sacrifice him. So he gets spirited away by this strange man who he believes is his long lost uncle, and he gets told that he is actually the host for the demon that has cursed their family years and years and years and years ago. So this demon's name is Alistair, and we jump back and forth between Prosper's point of view and Alistair's point of view, as Prosper is trying to get this demon out of him and save his family, and Alistair is trying to build up enough power to fully complete the curse that he put on this family years and years and years ago for whatever reason, and be able to get back into his own realm to go claim his throne as the new king of like the dark world or whatever. So we follow both these point of views as they kind of switch sides and take control of Prosper's body, and they both have their own gains and losses and are trying to take care of the people they care about. And it's actually really fun. I loved this book. I thought it was so cute. I thought it was so enjoyable. I thought it was so fun. I liked all of the characters in here. Nell, Prosper's little cousin, who's a witch, is so freaking adorable. And her cat, okay, her cat, that's not a cat, it's actually a demon, is so cute. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I love this book. I love the way that everything's portrayed. I love the way the world's built. I like the way the magic works. I liked the plot twist and the threads in here at the end of this book. Oh my goodness. You can tell through this whole book that something's off and something's not right, but I never would have thought that it was going to be that big of a thing to where it would go that far at the end. I'm not going to lie to you. So definitely surprise points on this one because I was not ready for it. But that being said, it was a great ride. It was a great read. It was a great time. I loved this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was adorable. And I totally think if you are a fan of fantasy, if you are a fan of middle grade, you should read this book because it was so cute. Okay, and the final book that we are going to talk about is also another middle grade. Apparently, this is the wrap up for middle grades this week, but it is going to be Short by Holly Goldberg Sloan. So this book was kind of a wild card for me. I'm not gonna lie. I would not normally have picked it up. My sister gave it to me, and so I had it on my shelf, and I figured it was time to read it. It's not that long. I wanted to get through it and get it done with. But it was pretty adorable. It wasn't my favorite by far or anything, but I did enjoy it. So we follow a girl named Julia, and Julia is very, very, very short, okay? She is like under she is like 4'1" or 4'2" or something, and she is tiny for everybody else her size. So we follow her on summer vacation when her mom makes her try out for the local theater production of The Wizard of Oz, and she gets cast as a munchkin. So she has just recently lost her dog, who was her favorite and only friend in the world, and so she is very much trying to figure out how she's going to deal with things now that he's gone. And through the mind of this little sixth grader, that looks like it's not going to happen. Everything looks dark, everything looks terrible. And so her mother is trying to change her outlook and kind of get her out of the house. And so she becomes this munchkin in this play, and she figures out that the world is bigger than she thought it was. And so she embarks on this journey to fully embrace being a munchkin and learning to love it and love her size and love herself for who she is. And she meets so many new friends. She goes on so many adventures. She learns so many things about herself, about others, about the world. And it's super cute. It's super heartwarming. It's just a really good, feel-good story, honestly. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's very young. It's not a 3-star because it's bad. It's a 3-star just because it's not my type of book, okay? But I did thoroughly enjoy this book. So if like heartfelt stories are for you, middle grades, feel-good stories, coming of age stories, learning about the world, any of that for you, definitely check out this book. It was very cute. It's also a very, very short read. See what I did there. But it is a very short read, actually. I read this in a couple of hours. It is not that long. It does not take you that long to get through. It has pretty decently big writing, but yeah, you will fly through this book. So definitely, if it sounds interesting to you, take the time to read it because I think that it was beautifully written and it had a lot of great things to say, and it was actually very cute. Okay, so that is the 5 books that I have to talk to you guys about today. If you have read any of these, I would love to know what you thought about them. If you want to leave that down below, I would also love to know books that you guys have been reading recently. Leave those down below also if you choose to. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to. And as usual, all of these books will be down below, as well as my Goodreads and my Instagram if you want to check those out. And I will see you guys soon in another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.